So it's an honor to be here. Some of the people that I recognize from different events that we've had, people that were together in Spain a little bit. I'm looking at some people, other people that I've had the opportunity to speak with and to get to know. So thanks so much for being here, and thanks so much for who you are. And it's an honor to be here. And I've got a couple things to say, and then maybe if there's some time, we'll take a couple of questions, and I hope we'll get you some more sushi pretty soon. You know, for those of you who've heard me before, you know that I'm kind of obsessed with the topic. I wrote a book about it because I'm obsessed about it, right? It's greatness. And the reason why I'm so obsessed about it is because I believe it's what we really deep down in our core want. When our kids are little, when we were little, and we look at a child, when we were little kids walking around, we didn't know to say this, but the entire world was our oyster. And all we wanted to do was grow and explore and take over, and something happened along the way. They did this great research about kids, and they were in kindergarten, and they gave them a paperclip, and they asked them, how many uses can you get from a paperclip? And if you can come up with 10 uses, you were considered to be creative. If you came up with 30 uses, you were considered to be a genius for creativity. And they tested these kids for how many kids would test for genius and creativity. And the number of kindergartners that tested for genius and creativity, guess. 98%. That's everybody. Was everybody. Then they gave the kids the test when they were in 5th grade. Guess what happened to that number? 25. Ninth grade. 16. High school, when you graduate high school, 10. 40 years old, 6%. What happened? That person, when he was a kid, was a genius in creativity. That same person, it's a flip. Because when you're younger, you're taking over the world. Then you go to school one day and they tell you there's only one answer. It's in the back of the book, and don't look until after the test. And you believe them. There's a one way. This is a timeline. I got to make this much. I got to do these 4 different type of things. These are jobs that are considered important. These jobs are not. I got to get married by this point. I got to do. The world tells you how to do stuff, and we sort of fit into a couple of boxes, and we then turn on our treadmills, and off we go. And along the way of playing the treadmill, you know what we end up losing? Ourselves. Yeah, that's exactly right. That little kid, that all that kid wants is to be great. What that means, it doesn't matter. Because one day greatness is climbing up a pole, and one great day greatness is driving your mother crazy. That's who we are. And that's what we need. And you know what ends up happening? There's always one person that doesn't play along. And they end up being the most successful. And then everyone tries to be what that guy is, or that woman is. Because at the end of the day, what makes me and you exactly the same, even though we come from different backgrounds, we got different interests, what makes me and you and the rest of the world pretty much the same is that what we really want out of this life is to feel and touch greatness. The only reason why we're playing the game called What Does Society Say? The only reason why we're doing that is because we don't know any other game to play to touch the feeling of greatness. And if you grew up in a football family, you'd be playing football. And if you grew up in an Ivy League school family, you'd be going crazy to get into the Ivy Leagues. All that really is my and your desire to feel some touch of greatness. But what is greatness? Because if we get underneath it and break it open and understand the element of it, we don't have to follow suit. We take the path that God gives us, not the path that anybody else gives us. If we understand what it really is, then we don't need some other industry to make us feel that way, because we know how to feel it in the right way. That's what I want to talk a little bit about today, and then we'll open up to a couple of questions. We are right now in the Jewish calendar at the beginning of the most difficult time. For those of you who bet Gabrielle in the house, I'm going to be there, hopefully not, but Tisha B'Av, that place is rocking, because that's really the pinnacle of the lowest point of the year, Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av is the remembrance of not just we lost a building, the entire world of Galut, the entire world of a life that's not living the ideal is represented by what happened on Tisha B'Av. Guess what? The game begins now. Right now. This week, we're going to have Rosh Chodesh Tammuz. This is the months. These next 2 months are those situations. Now, the entire story of all that destruction took place in the parasha of last week. And those of you know the story already. But I want to dissect it with you for a few minutes. If you remember the story, Jews are in Egypt. 210 years radio silence. Moshe shows up, right? Hey guys, good news. I was walking around the bush in the desert. I saw a bush, and it was God. They're like, whatever you do is on your own time. Whatever you're doing with the bush is your own business. I'm not asking any questions. I'm sure it's all good. It's all good. And he's like, you don't believe me? That's cool. You don't believe me? I got this stick. Just watch. And then 1 year later, 10 plagues are the coolest plagues ever. The Jews are like, holy cow, we've got this God who's incredibly creative, has got a ton of resources, and this is amazing. And the Jews walk out of Egypt, remember? They get to the sea, and they're like, what are we doing here? There's no like boardwalk, there's no hotel, what are we doing here? And Moshe's like, just wait, you didn't wait for night activity, wait for this. Boom! And the Jews walk through the sea, they get the Torah, they're going out of their minds. Life's amazing. They got clouds of glory. It's air conditioning. It's always 60 degrees. The AC is going. The clouds are rocking through the whole desert. You don't have to change your clothing. They get bread from the sky. Life's awesome. It's a Pesach program all year long. They get to the banks of Israel, and God goes, all right, you ready for this? He's like, ready for what? They're like, this is it. Like, you're going to go in there and conquer. And they're like, it's so funny because you pulled some doozies in Egypt. I can't wait to see what are you going to do? You're going to bring locusts back again? Because that was a fan favorite locust. You're going to put darkness? And God goes, oh no, you didn't get the memo? You guys are fighting. And they're just like, what? We don't speak Hebrew yet. What are you talking about? No, we're Jews. We're not going to fight. We can negotiate for you. That's fine. That's cool. I can sue people left and right. I can heal people. I can out-eat anybody. I can get my mom, she can guilt people to death. You know what I'm saying? But you know what I'm saying? Not until you put on an Israeli uniform do you get scary. You know what I'm saying? You never see guys come out of the yeshiva. You'll never ever see a bunch of guys come out of a bar with tattoos and go, yeah, Johnny, the yeshiva let out. Let's cross the street. I don't want it to get weird. That's never, ever, ever happening. Because we're not a tough people. Until you put a uniform on, then the whole thing changes. And remember the story? The Jews say, listen, we got to go in there. We got to check it out. And God goes, okay. Spies go in. Spies come out. Stand in front of the whole nation. And what do they say? We're going to die. We're going to die. This is a bad idea. God took us out. He's going to kill us. Let's get together. Can you imagine this? Let's get ahead. Let's replace Moses and let's go back to Egypt. That came out of their mouths. They cried, afterwards, they cried tears of vain. And as a result of crying tears of vain, that night was the night of Tisha B'Av. Tears of vain. Question. How did they miss it? How did they miss it? I understand something. How is it possible that they missed this? These are the Jewish people. You understand something? Israel's incredibly difficult, and getting in there, I know it was hard. But they have God who showed up, who poofed the best, who split a sea, who introduced himself to them a year ago. They wake up every morning and they eat bread from the sky. They don't think he's hooking them up. They think he's leaving them on the doorstep. He doesn't have a track record until now. They're by the way, it looks scary, but the guy behind you, yeah, he's a big guy. He'll take care of it. They think they're going to walk in and do they really think that it was how did they lose it on the doorstep? What was it that they lost? And how come it's that night that we've got destruction for the rest of our lives? So I want to tell you a story. So, as the rabbi mentioned, I'm not a rabbi. I'm in business. For many, many, many years, I was in law. I was a real estate lawyer for many years until I moved over to the business side. Now, I have two lives. Life one is my business life. I'm very proud to be Jewish. I wear a kippah, but I don't walk around my business life trying to get everybody around me in the meeting rooms to sort of get more connected to God. I'd like to, I just don't. So I've got one part of my life, which is business Charlie life. I got another part of my life, which is this Charlie. Right? This is the stuff that I love. But they're different. I have what they call a Chinese wall in between. They don't mix. Sometimes there's a little over, but they don't mix. They're two different worlds. So I'll never forget one time they mixed. I was doing a deal once, and it was September, and the deal went sour. It was a big transaction we were working on for a long time, and the transaction basically was going to fall apart. And the CEO of the company that I was working for at the time got really scared. It was September. Half the place was either Jewish or religious, and he knew that if you get close to September, once you hit the holidays, you're never coming out of it. So he called what's called an all-hands meeting. All-hands meeting means everybody connected to the transaction has to show up. So we all came to this boardroom in the middle of Times Square. Everybody, the lenders, the borrowers, the principals, the lawyers, the title guy, you name it, they're in the room, and the CEO said, nobody leaves this room until we sign the deal. So we start working. It's 12 o'clock in the afternoon. 12 turns into 4, turns into 6, turns into 12, turns into 2, turns into 4, turns into 6. It's round the clock, negotiating. It was a crazy transaction. Somewhere, everyone was sleeping in the corners, on the floors, getting hotel rooms, disaster. Somewhere around 9 o'clock in the morning, I'm sitting negotiating a term with a lawyer across from me. And it happens to be a Jewish guy. Now, pause. I do these videos, maybe you've seen them before. I do these videos on H.com. Ever see the video that I did on H.com? This is a video, for those of you who don't know. I used to do these videos, they used to go on a website called H.com. They were like short videos with things going on and music. We did them before every holiday. I didn't fly to Israel before every holiday. I flew to Israel once a year. I brought 6 suits. I stood in front of a green screen. I told over 6 different or 10 different things, and then I gave them to the computer guys. Those guys, I don't know what they do with it, but they somehow make it look like there's a frog behind me. I don't know what they do, but they make it look like that. And then they name it and they release it whenever it's about holiday time. So I'm back in this boardroom, and I'm negotiating with a guy, happens to be a Jewish guy, and he gets an email, and he looks at the email. And he gives me like a look. I never saw that look before, but he gave me a look. And I'm like, uh-oh. It happened to be the day that H.com sent out the video for Rosh Hashanah. If it couldn't get less masculine, the title they chose for the video was Rosh Hashanah, What's Love Got to Do with It? Tina Turner. He looks at the email, and it says by Charlie Harary, and he goes, and I'm like, something just felt weird. And he goes, is that you? I'm like, nah, it's not me. So he scrolls up and goes, looks like you. I'm like, nah, it's my cousin. It's my cousin. We have the same grandfather, so we look exactly the same. He goes, looking at the bio, it's you. I'm like, nah, please don't tell anybody. So he looks at me, and with the straightest face, he goes, nah, I'm not going to tell anybody. You can trust me. Any lawyers in the room? God bless us all. Famous last words to the lawyer. You can trust me. So he gets up a minute later, and he goes to the desk, and he picks up the phone. A minute after that, some cool-looking guy shows up in this massive conference room that we're sitting in. And I'm like, why is that guy here? In my brain doesn't get around that he's the tech guy. And as soon as the tech guy walks in, it's going to be bad news. But I couldn't get around it yet. All of a sudden, I turn around, and I want you to picture a room this big, looking at Times Square. And all of a sudden, he goes in and he presses a button, if you've been to these conference rooms before, and all of a sudden, this screen goes, and I'm like, why is there a screen dropping in the middle of a negotiation? And the guy goes, hey, everybody, we've been working so hard. Little did we know that one of the lawyers is a Jewish Christian minister. Ladies and gentlemen, Charlie Harary. Click. Na-na-na-na-na-na. What's love got to do with it? Everyone's like, and I'm like, okay. So now word breaks out in my company that Charlie doubles down and he is a closet Jewish evangelical minister. I get back to my desk and the company goes insane. insane. Guys got walking in, knocking on my door. Hey, I heard you're like a minister. I'm like, I'm not a minister. I heard you're a minister. Can you explain to me like why you fast on Rosh Hashanah, on Yom Kippur? I'm like, next guy knocks on the door. He goes, hey, yeah, I heard that like you're really into like religion. Can you like explain to me the Holocaust? I'm like, yeah, sure. You have like a minute. I can explain that the Holocaust. One guy walks in, knocks on the door. He's like, yeah, I heard you're a religious man. Do you do confession? I'm like, yeah. Take 2 aspirin and call me in the morning. And it was like nonstop, because you know what? It was like right around Rosh Hashanah time. God bless all the Jews. They like Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur is when everybody's interested. They're knocking on my. It's like a rolling thing. Christians, Jews, Muslims, everyone's coming in because apparently I'm like the local faith guy. I'm like, listen, everybody, like I'm into this. I love it. It's my other life. I want to do it. I got to get through my day. Like I got to get home. I got to get to the holiday. So I spoke to the vice chairman. I said, listen, this is wonderful, but I can't continue this. So he says, what do you should do? I'm like, here's what we're going to do. Send out an email and tell people, listen, I'm available, but let's do a lunch and learn. Every day, 12, as long as this lasts, I'll take this to the end of the year. 12 o'clock, we'll go downstairs to the corporate cafeteria, we'll get some food, and any questions you got, we'll ask. Done. Sends out the email. That's what we do. It's awesome. 12 o'clock comes, I go downstairs. Sometimes there's 4 people, sometimes there's 10 people, sometimes there's 20 people. We go downstairs, everyone grabs lunch, sit around, and then the questions, and what do you think about it? And it's awesome. So, September is when you not only have the holidays, September is when you get the new recruits. And there's this one kid that we were trying to get for a long time. He was a top prospect out of the Ivy League university. And he wasn't going to us. He was going to go to another company called Blackstone. And we got real close and explained to him that we were better and blah, 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 and we're smaller and he'll get more experience. And he finally agrees to come to us. And he's in the finance group. So he shows up on his first day. His name was Josh. Shows up on his first day of his employment, sitting in his cubicle, and it's 12 o'clock, and he sees 8 people walk past him. And he goes to his friend, what's going on? He goes, well, we got this Jewish evangelical minister here. He goes, really? He goes, yeah, the guy does videos and blah, blah, blah. So you know what? Everyone's interested. He said, if anybody wants, they can do a lunch and learn. He goes, you get to talk about faith in this place? This is amazing. I never know about it. So he goes, can I come? They're like, yeah, I guess so. So Josh comes into the first thing. I'm sitting there, and we're talking about whatever, God and this and that. And Josh is literally sitting front row. Front row. And everything I say, he's like, mm-hmm, uh-huh, you know that? Like, I'm like, I love this guy. And he's me. He's like amening me a little bit. He's like, yeah, amen, man, amen, amen, amen. I'm like, I love this guy, Josh. So the thing's done, and everyone like leaves, and Josh stands up, and I'm like, just getting my stuff. And he comes up to me, and he's like all sheepish. Meanwhile, just to give you a sense, Josh, just to give you a sense of what he looks like, Josh is 6'5", 250, cut like an ox. He's a football player. He's a genius. He's one of those types. Sick comes right. I'm like going stuff. He goes, Mr. Harary. I'm like, yeah. So he says, I just want to thank you, and I didn't think I can come to a place of work and speak about faith. Like I'm just thanks for the opportunity. I said, no problem. So he goes, listen. He goes, I didn't want to say something. I came a little late. He goes, do you mind if I come back tomorrow? I said, of course. Why? He goes, well, I didn't want to say something. I came late. He goes, but I'm not Jewish. I said, I know. He goes, how do you know? I said, Josh, you're 6'5". God doesn't make us that big. You know what I'm saying? We may have built the stadium, but we're not the players. We're negotiating the deals. But for some reason, I don't know what it is about our people, God decided that we're not the people that are actually putting on the uniforms, and we're okay with that. Yeah, it's not my God, it's God. You come back as much as you want. He goes, you sure? I'm like, yeah. So he's like, thanks so much. Next day comes, and I'm doing a piece about memory, and how memory is something that changes over time. And when you're young, your memory, we talk about this for a whole night about narrative and memory, but basically, when you're young, and I bet you every one of you has a moment when you're young, when somebody says something to you, elementary school, high school, you still remember your whole life, because that's the power of youth. And I'm in the middle of giving this example, front row, who's sitting front row? My main man, Josh, 6'5", blocking everyone behind him. His hand just raises. I'm like, I didn't know this was a Q&A, Josh. So he says, do you mind if I share something? I'm like, you're 6'5", you can do whatever you want. So So Josh gets up, and now Josh is giving the class. He's like, I'm like, yeah, sure. Now I'm sitting down. And Josh is behind the thing, and Josh goes, what Charlie's saying is 100% correct. And I want to tell you what happened in my life that changed my life because of what someone said to me in high school. I'm like, okay. And Josh goes off and basically gives the best story I've heard maybe in my life, which I'm going to tell you right now. If you heard it before, I apologize. Josh grew up in Texas. What's the number one religion in Texas? Football, not Christianity. Football, excellent. Josh said, he goes, I hit my growth spurt when I was in the 6th grade. When you're 6'3" in 6th grade in Texas, yeah, you're the Messiah. That's how it works. You're the second coming. There's nobody else. He goes, my mom had more apple pies baked for her than any woman in the great state of Texas. Because everybody wanted to play for their high school team because everybody wants to win the championship in Texas in football. And the guy who's 6'5" is going to take you to the championship. He goes, my first day of school, there was a marching band outside waiting for me when I walked in the doors. That's what it was like growing up in my life. He goes, but I was a mediocre football player. He goes, you got to be a killer on the line. And I wasn't a killer. I'm not a killer. And my first year, we lost. My second year, we went to the playoffs and lost. He goes, my third year, we went to the finals and lost. He goes, I was becoming the disappointment of the school. And now I'm in my final year. He goes, and I want you to picture where I am. He tells the group, I'm telling this to you. He goes, if you can, for a minute, be there, because you'll feel it in August. Texas. It's 100 degrees dry. Picture it. You're standing on a beautifully manicured football field. Not a cloud in the sky, just a boiling hot sun. And walking out of that door is a locker room, and coming out of that locker room is 50 kids in pads and jerseys for what they call first practice. He goes, first practice was a tradition in the school. All these kids came out, and what we did on the first practices, everybody came out in their white jerseys, and everybody lined up across the entire end zone. And after everybody was lined up, the coach came out in full gear, full like team paraphernalia swag. And he stands in front of the entire crowd, and that's when he picks his captain. And if you get picked as captain, that's the biggest thing. And he stands in front and he says, this year, the coaches and I have had a very difficult discussion, and we've decided that the captain for your team is Josh. And Josh steps up and was going, Josh, Josh, Josh. And Josh says, he puts me right next to him, and he goes, and now I turn to the crowd. And the coach looks at me and he goes, Josh, we're going to win the championship this year? He goes, yes, sir. He goes, are we going to win? He goes, yes, sir. Work hard. Yes, sir. Whatever the expressions they had there, like work hard, no pain, no gain, whatever it was. He goes, Josh, are you ready to show everybody what it means to be a ball player? He goes, yes, sir. He goes, here's what I want you to do. He goes, Josh, can you give me a death crawl? Death crawls are when you crawl, but your elbows and your knees don't touch the floor. It's pain from the first second. He goes, can you give me a death crawl, son? He goes, yes, sir. He goes, how far can you go? And Josh stands there and looks back and he goes, sir, I can get to the 20-yard line. He goes, can you get to the 20? He goes, yes, sir. He goes, do I have your word, son? You will get to the 20-yard line? And he goes, yes, sir. He goes, good, get down. He goes, Josh moved back to the end zone. Everybody got around him, and he goes, he got down. He goes, wait 1 second before you start. Coach goes, Billy. Billy was the shortest kid on the team, probably the Jewish kid. He goes, Billy, come here. Apparently, Josh found out this was a movie that they sent his coach. I don't know if you've seen this or not, but basically, he did it differently, but the movie was sent to his coach, and that's where he got the idea from. Josh only found that afterwards, and all his friends showed it to him. He goes, Billy, come here. Billy comes up. He goes, Billy, jump on Josh's back. He goes, Coach, I said I'd get to the 20 by my... He goes, I'm sorry, son, because a minute ago you told me that I had your word, and I can't believe that your word isn't good for something. You're going to break your own word first day as my captain? And Josh goes, you know what? I'll get to the 20-yard line with Billy on my back. He gets down on all fours. He goes, one more thing. He goes, how many more things, Coach? And he pulls out of his pocket a handkerchief, and he blindfolds him. He puts on his helmet, and he goes, Josh says, he whispers in his ear, you do not stop crawling until you hear my whistle. I don't want you fetching. He didn't say fetching, though. Whatever he said, I remember the word fetching. He goes, he said, I don't want you complaining. He goes, I don't want you whining. That was the word he used. I don't want you whining. I don't want you complaining. I don't even want you breathing heavy. You will get to that line, and until you hear my whistle, you should not stop moving. Is it clear? He goes, yes, sir. He goes, am I clear? He said, crystal, sir. Gets down all four. Josh says, I couldn't hear myself think because everything around me is going, Josh, 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 Josh. And the coach blows the first whistle to start. He goes, blows the whistle, and off he goes. He goes, and I'm going, and I'm going, and I'm going, and I'm going. And I got to tell you, from the first 5 minutes, I'm in pain. And I'm going, and I'm going, and I'm going, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, I might get through this. He goes, and I'm going, and he gets to the 10-yard line, and the coach goes to him, good job, Josh, you're on the 5. And he's thinking, the 5? How can I be on the 5? Is he pulling me back? Am I not getting it? Like, am I crawling? But and he's going, and he's going, and he's going, and now he's on the 20-yard line, and the coach goes, good job, Josh, you're on the 10. He goes, the 10. Did it ever happen to anybody here? You ever like work out and time slows down? Anyone have this ever experience? You ever been on a treadmill before? Anyone ever been on a treadmill? Yeah. And you're jogging on the treadmill? You ever have that? And you're like jogging, you're like, that was 45 minutes, 18 seconds. You ever have that? Where like your brain's like, no way, it can't possibly be. Anyone ever experienced it? He's like, is my brain playing games with me? Like, how is it possible? And he's crawling, and he's like, and I can't feel anything. Everything on my body is pain. And he's crawling, he's on the 30-yard line. And the coach goes, good job, Josh. You're on the 15. He goes, coach, I got nothing left. He goes, I told you not to speak until you're done. You don't want to waste any of your energy whining, right? And he goes, coach, I got nothing. He goes, well, you better not stop now because you're on the 20-yard line. And if you're going to do your first thing as a captain by embarrassing yourself, our whole season's going the wrong way. And he's going, and he's going, and he's going. He's on the 40-yard line right now. And Josh says, I can't think, I can't breathe, I can't move my arms. All I'm doing in my brain is telling my brain, move my arm, because every part of my brain's like, no, you're not. And he's going, and he's going, and he's ready to die. And he doesn't hear the whistle. And he's going, and he's going, and he's like, I can't do this anymore. And all of a sudden, after a couple of seconds, he just literally gave out, and he just fell down, and he collapsed on the 50-yard line. Thinking he didn't even make it to the 20-yard line. Josh said, I had never in my life experienced such embarrassment. He thought he didn't make it to the 20. He said, I rolled over, pushed Billy off my back. He said, I pulled down that handkerchief. And he goes, and I stared at that sun, hoping that it would blind me and injure me. And with tears down my cheeks, I felt the coach come and block the sun. I felt his shadow. And as he got close to me, before I said a word, laying on the grass, I said to him, Coach, I want to apologize to you. I've been nothing but a disappointment to you from the first second that you've brought me into this school. You had faith in me, and I've delivered nothing for your faith except for disappointment. My first year, my second year, my third year, we've lost in everything we've ever touched. And you have the confidence to make me your captain, and I can't even make it to the 20. I would totally understand, sir, if you'd strip me of my captainship. And the coach looks over to him and says, the 20? The 20? Get up, Josh, and look down. You're on the 50. And he got up, and his coach told him one thing. One thing. That one thing got him to win the championship that year. He went to an Ivy League school, graduated with a 3.9 while playing in the entire time in the league, off one line on a football field in Texas. He said, you know what your problem, Josh, is? You were born on the 20. There's some kids that'll never make a football team. There's some kids that are sitting here working out for months to become the third backup of my football team. God blessed you with the size and the strength and the hand-eye coordination. You were born on the 20-yard line. What comes natural to you in football, there are people that don't even dream of. And when you're born on the 20-yard line, when you're born with a little bit of success, you start to make the following calculation. You start thinking that if it's comfortable for me to be on this 20, if this is where I am, if this is where I feel like I'm comfortable, then this is where I belong. You start to think That the place where you belong is the place where you feel comfortable because you're comfortable on the field. And the greatest mistake when you say to yourself, how do I go further? How do I get more? How do you determine whether or not it's you or not? You determine whether something is you by how it feels comfortable. The greatest challenge that we have in our lives is the little bit of success that we have. Because as you grow up in this world and you achieve anything, what ends up happening is you start to feel comfortable. You're comfortable with the type of Jew that I am. I'm comfortable with the type of person that I am. I'm comfortable with who I am right now. And because you're comfortable with what you've achieved, we start to make a calculation that if I'm comfortable with it, that's who I am. And when somebody asks of me to do more, what I use as a litmus test to decide if it's me or not is whether it feels comfortable. When someone says, try something new, when you say no, why do you say no for? Because you go, that's not comfortable. That's not me. I can't do that. That's not me. That's beyond me. That all that is basically saying that I define me by where I feel comfortable. Most people are living their lives, and much of their potential is unrealized. You know why? Not because they can't. It's because they think that any time they achieve something that's uncomfortable, they think that's not them. Comfort is an identity. It's not just that it's comfortable so I get to be lazy. I determine who I am by that which feels comfortable to me. And anything that comes out of my comfort zone, I say, that's not me. I'm that type of person. I'm like this, not like that. I'm from here, I'm not from there. I do this, I can't do that. I've never done this. I can never do that. I can't imagine doing that. That's too uncomfortable. When you're born on the 20-yard line, Josh, getting to the 50 is too uncomfortable. And you could live your whole life on the 20. But getting to the 50, is that me or is that someone else? Is that really me? Oh, okay. Let's turn me off because I'm here. Awesome. And you have to make a decision, Josh. 20 or 50. Comfortable or great? By the way, that's life. I did an enormous amount of research for a long time waiting for the secret to greatness. I was waiting for it. I didn't teach a class and write a book. I was waiting for on Tuesday morning at 3 o'clock in the morning, do this 6 times and boom. There's only one thing that all great, when I mean great, I don't mean great like Forbes. I mean great like the grandmother who comes from a different country and pulls her family together with her on her own back. That's greatness. I mean greatness, the community leader that builds the programs and no one even knows him. That's greatness. I mean real greatness. Sometimes the world recognizes it, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes the people that are on these magazines, they're the furthest thing in the world from greatness. And sometimes they're not. I'm talking about real greatness. I'm talking about the greatness you take with you on the last day of your life. And you turn around and go, I lived a great life. I'm talking about the greatness that we are all deep down desiring in our lives. The real stuff. There's only one equation that I know to be true about that. 20 or 50. Period. Comfort or greatness. Because the only path that's real, that leads you to true greatness, is uncomfortable. Because if you get to be great and it's comfortable, either you stole it, or you inherited it, or you took it. You didn't earn it. You didn't earn it, because earning is uncomfortable. And the greatest tragedy is the potential that is within us to get to the 50 that we never tap into, because when we take our foot off that 20, we go, oh, that's not me. I can't even, I know me. Rob, I know me. I got me. I know me. I got me. I'm not that type of dad. I'm not that type of husband. I'm not that type of girl. I'm not that type of person. I don't think that way. I don't do those things. I don't push. I get it. It's not me. It's not me how do you know it's you? If you never really got there, if you never brought that piece of you out, you don't really know it's you. That's the fun part about life, is that you don't know who you are yet. That's why the 3-year-olds are loving their lives, because every day they wake up, and guess what? Who they're meeting? Themselves. Because yesterday they couldn't do that thing, but they're ready to take on the world. And when they try enough times, they're like, hey, I could do that. What makes life so much fun is when you wake up in the morning and you're not sure just how much you're pulling out of you today. Because you're doing tough things. You're trying stuff you never tried before. If you go to bed at night and nothing hurt, if you didn't rip any one of those muscles called life, anyone here who goes to the gym? You go to the gym and you don't micro tear a muscle. What are you doing in the gym? You go through your day. You don't micro tear a piece of your life. You don't walk into a room and not know somebody, walk over and say, hi, I'm so-and-so, and that killed you. You don't raise your hand for something you haven't done. You don't try something that you've never done before. You go through your day and you haven't pushed yourself. That means that there's 1 yard that you could have accomplished today that you didn't accomplish it. That means you're living on the 20. And the coach told Josh, here's the deal. You want to live on the 20? We're going to lose again. I don't care what happens. I don't care if you ever make it to the 50. I care about one thing. You take your foot off the 20-yard line every day of your life. Every day you leave. Every single day you reach for the 50. And if you reach for the 50 every day, some days there'll be good days, some days there'll be challenges, it don't matter. If you're willing to be uncomfortable, then God's going to throw you the things he needs you to do, and whether the world notices or not, it doesn't matter. Because when you go to bed at night and your head hits that pillow, whether someone pats you on the back or hands you a check, you're going to know in your gut, I lived a great day today. And there is nothing that we want more than a life of a lot of those days. That's why we're all after the same stuff. That's why the world's chasing money. That's why the world's chasing sizes. That's why the world's chasing everything. You know why? Because they need someone to say you're doing great. But they're never going to tell us you're doing great, because greatness doesn't happen on the outside. Not real greatness. So how come the Jews missed it? So there's one line, I'll end with this. Stick with me 1 more minute. This line is so good, it doesn't even, you almost feel like it doesn't come out. You almost feel like someone planted it afterwards. How did the Jews miss it? The Jews showed up with a gun at their back. They stand in front of Israel, and they don't go in. What did they miss? Listen to this. They came out. Stick with me and try to hear these words. And if you can, be a commentator for a minute with me, okay? Be a Torah commentator. Tell me what's wrong with these words. They gave their report. Giants, fortified cities, we're going to lose, we're going to die. And then they say the following. I'll say it in Hebrew and I'll translate. V'hiyu v'nihi be'einenu kechagavim. We were in their eyes like grasshoppers. V'chein hayu be'einehem. I'm sorry. We were in our eyes like grasshoppers. V'chein hayu be'einehem. And so we were in theirs. Listen to the line one more time. We were in our eyes like grasshoppers, and so we were in theirs. Anyone have a problem with that? What? Yeah. How do they know? How did they know what they saw? You know how they knew? Because you know what they said? I'm a grasshopper. They must have seen me as a grasshopper. You know how we don't reach for more? Because you know what we think of ourselves? I'm not special. The rabbi, the big guy on top, those guys. Me, I'm a regular guy. I come from this background, not that background. I'm this connected, I'm not connected. I know me. I know me. I know me. 20-yard line. I know me. I'm not special. I can't do big things. I can't. No, I get it, Charlie. I appreciate this whole thing, and it's great. I love it. Thanks for coming. But I can't. Like, you don't know me. I get it. No, what'd you think? I thought it was good. A little bit, right? I liked the idea. It was funny. Da-da-da-da-da. He doesn't know me. He doesn't know me. Do me a favor. I get it. I can't. I'm a grasshopper. God says, You want to know what the root of destruction is? Not failure. The root of destruction is? I can't. Tears of vain is tears of I can't before you even try. That's what the spies brought to the world. And I got to tell you something. We're doing it every single year, because if we didn't, we'd be living in the times of the Messiah. Every year, we sit back on the floor and we remember the day. You know why? Because God goes, you guys doing great. You're still crying tears of vain. You're still not clear with the fact that I chose you to be my nation. I infused you with a piece of me. And I told you to go out there and kill whatever I put in front of you. And you still think you're a grasshopper. That's really the period we're in right now. And that's what our fight is. Our fight is to wake up every single morning and go, I can't? Oh, I'd rather die trying than I can't. I'd rather crawl to the 50 than be happy on the 20. I'd rather go into Israel and die in battle than stand on the banks and cry to be scared. And when we have that attitude for our own personal lives, whatever comes in front of us, as big or as small, when we have big dreams, physically and spiritually, and we're willing to go out there and try and even fail, then you know what ends up happening? Whether we win or lose, whether we make it or not, we reach into something called greatness. Because that's who we are. And that's what we're meant to be. And my blessing to you, and if I'll take one or two questions if you want, my blessing to you. Why not you? Seriously, why not you? Why shouldn't this group man up or woman up? Person up. Why shouldn't this group be the model of what a group could be? Of what could take place in America in 2019? Why can't you be the ones to stand up and say, we're done being grasshoppers? I don't care if the whole Jewish community follows us. In these walls, we're fighting for the 50. I got an amazing rabbi, I got an amazing group of people. You know, the Chafetz Chaim says that all it takes for the entire Jewish people to be saved is one group of people that stands up. I got to tell you something. Deep down, I think, between me and you off the record, when Mashiach does come, he's coming here first. I'll tell you why. Because JFK is the closest airport from Israel. And if he flies through Newark, he's definitely not Mashiach. That's my only test. He's going to show up, he'll be like, hey, I'm Mashiach. I'm like, oh, wow. He's like, I can do all these fancy things. I'm like, wonderful. I'm like, hey, how'd you get here? He's like, I don't know, I caught a United flight from Newark. I'm like, you did? You're not Mashiach. Because if you're a Mashiach, you'd fly to JFK, probably through Delta, but that's a whole other story. My blessing is that you should be the ones to lead us back. Show the world what it means to be strong. Show the world what it means to not be a grasshopper, and live your life in the 50 and not the 20. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'll take one or two questions if they want. Anyways, well, I'll take one or two questions if you guys want, and then I'll book out. And then you guys continue. Thoughts, questions, ideas? Yeah.
One of the biggest things that usually stops individuals is fear, right? The fear of failure.
Yeah.
Right? So how do you still take the chance?
That's my man. That's my man.
So how do you know that there's a possibility to make it? There's a possibility.
Yeah.
It's because you have self-doubt in ourselves.
Awesome. Thank you for asking that question. Question is fear of failure. I'm going to go deeper. You ready? I'll tell you what the real fear is. Tell me if I'm wrong. It's not failure. You know what it is? Image. We're scared to look like failures. You know why? Because we all grew up in a world where we got to look great. Failing is how everybody wins. Nobody walks into a gym and goes, I hope I don't fail. Nobody makes, you fail. When you, Facebook, if you've ever been to Facebook's headquarters, everywhere you look is a sign. You know what it says? Fail often and fail fast. Failure is how you learn. How come we don't like failure for? Me too. How come we don't like failure for? Because people don't look over and go, This guy's a failure. It's embarrassment. You know why it's embarrassment? Because deep down, you know what we don't believe? That we are not grasshoppers. We don't believe that we're incredible. We don't believe that God's inside us. So you know what that means? I need the society to tell me that I'm great. And if my head hits the mud and someone goes, oh, I knew that. We deep down don't know who we are. When a person wakes up in the morning and realizes that he's got a piece of God inside him, and his only goal of the day is to become greater than he was yesterday, the more a person lives in that space, a week, a month, 2, 3, 4 months, the more you get this and the more you think about this, what's going to happen, if you do this long enough, trust me, if you live this space and you say, I'm in, and I got something inside me that's bigger than something outside me, at some point you wake up in the morning and you go, I don't care if I look stupid. Once you hit the place where you can do something and you're not worried about someone else's opinion of you, you've touched freedom. Now you're ready to roll. That's the fight. It's not fear of failure. It's fear of looking bad. Thanks for that awesome question. One more. Yeah.
I know you didn't really talk about this, but why did Moses send in 12 spies?
Why?
Yeah.
Because Moshe thought they were worried to go in my opinion. A lot of opinions. There's like a million reasons why Moshe sent them in. The Jews were worried. God gave them the land. Land's phenomenal. Let me tell you a little something about perspective. I just did this. I do this once. I do a weekly WhatsApp video. If you guys want, I could send it to the rabbi, or you can just text me and I'll send it around, or whatever it is. I don't know how to get it around to you. But every week I do a weekly video on the Torah portion. Your question was this week's video. I'll tell you the answer. Okay. Yeah, I'll tell it to you. Spies go in, spies come out. You know what the spies say? We're going to die. You know one of the reasons why they say they're going to die? You know what they saw? Fortified cities. They were fighting with shields and swords, right? They weren't fighting with drones. If you get a big wall, you know what's going to happen to you? You're going to die. So they come back and go, we're out. How come we're out for? Because I saw fortified cities. How do these guys know to look for fortified cities? These guys aren't military people. These guys are slaves. You know how they knew to look for fortified cities? You know who told them? Moses. You know why Moses told them to look for fortified cities? If you're strong, let me ask you a question. If you're the toughest guy on your block, do you think you go home at night and do like 17 locks and put on your alarm system? No. You know why you do 17 locks and put your alarm system on? Because you know what you're scared of? The outside world. If you're sitting behind the fortified city, you know what it says about the people inside the city? Are they strong or are they weak? You got to deal with the wall. But once you get past that wall, are those people strong? Moses says, if you got fortified cities, we got this. They walk in, they see fortified cities, you know what they say? We're going to die. Same fact, two different opinions. Moses said, I'm going to send them in, they'll come out, they're going to see what I see. Big land, big fruits, milk and honey, weak people ready to roll. They, in their heads, thought they were grasshoppers. They thought they were weak. You know what they saw? All the stuff that Moshe told them to look for. You know what they said? I saw all that stuff and that's going to hurt us. That's life. Two people are looking at the same thing. One person saying, yes, I can. One person saying, I told you I can't. Am I right? Because perspective is the key to everything. All right, guys. Thanks for being amazing.